I Well, Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.
It sounds so good to hear you say those words. I want to invite us to say those words again. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
It is so good to be with everyone together tonight. And so that is a welcome to everyone who is here in our sanctuary, a Shana Tova to everyone here, and a Shana Tova to everyone who's joining us online this evening as well, on Facebook and on YouTube. And I want to invite you to place in the chat maybe a Shana Tova or a good evening as we begin our new year together. I'll note also that you'll find a higher quality stream at tilb.org. At the very top of that website, you'll find the button for the live stream where you'll be able to join us there as well, again, at a slightly higher quality stream. Well, and of course, this evening, we welcome in and begin our holiday together. And Cantor Cooper, it is always such a gift and such a joy to share this bima with you, as you bring each of us into this holiday on the wings of music in a way that speaks to us far beyond what any of the words or any traditions, any rituals might bring. We know that it is this holiday because of the music that you bring for us. Thank you for sharing this bima.
Thank you. And for the added bonus of this amazing music for this choir and David. Thank you.
We have with us a lot of special treats this evening, and so we have, in addition to the two of us, you get another clergy person this evening.
Yay.
And so we welcome student Rabbi Jade Carter this evening, and for these holidays, she's going to be offering her teachings to us this holiday, as well as she's created a new Tashlich service for us tomorrow afternoon, and so you'll have to come out, meet us at Belmont Pier for that particular experience, as well as on Yom Kippur afternoon, we'll have a creative reading of the Jonah story as well. I have to mention that as we do have music this evening, that we also need to share that there were a number of our members of our choir who are not able to be here because they've gotten COVID recently. And I want to say very specifically to them, because I know that they are joining online, thank you. Thank you for the hard work that you put into being here this evening. Thank you for putting in the hard work to helping us come to these services. And even though we will be hearing your voice in spirit this evening, know that the music you bring still lifts our souls. And so I want to thank as well our choir who are with us this evening, bringing in music and bringing us into this holiday with the melodies and songs of our people. Thank you each for being here. And of course, our esteemed and beloved David York, who will be guiding us through this evening and this music this evening, not just with his piano, but with his presence as well. David, it is always, always a joy to lead with you anytime we have the opportunity. A little bit as well this evening of some housekeeping. We are asking that anyone who is not currently at the podium, or who is not at the podium and speaking, to remain masked throughout the evening. Now, Cantor Cooper and I are going to not have masks on while we're speaking so that everyone can hear us a little more clearly, but we will replace our masks when we are off the beam. And of course, we're asking that anyone might both cover their mouth as well as their nose. A couple of notes about our sanctuary as well. You'll find exits on the side of our sanctuary as well as in the front of our sanctuary as well. And in addition to direct exits through these doors, you'll find, perhaps most importantly, restrooms through these doors as well as we begin. Well, we know that prayer is always a communal and, at the same time, a personal activity. We know, and we have long recognized, that deep personal reflection happens in a unique way when we are able to do that work knowing that we are a part of community. And when we know that that space is loving, that space is safe. For all of us, no matter what our needs are, these high holy days, whether we are here in person or if we're joining online, may we find ourselves in a space that is spiritually safe and ready to turn inward, to do the work of teshuvah as we rediscover our very best selves and our best community. We begin our service on page 7 of our prayer books. Summer is gone, and nights grow cold. These are the days of awe. The shofar blows with bread in hand down to the sea. We take time and give thanks and cast our sadness free. That we may start fresh, that we may come clear, that we may know sweetness and peace throughout the year, that we may find love where we need it most. And open our hearts and our hands and draw one another close. A day to fast and count the ways we've promised and fallen short. And so we meet each other's gaze to begin again. Life won't wait, time turns, and we return and walk on through the gates. Under the moon, a roof of trees, we bring in the harvest. Beneath the stars, we eat and sing for joy. We make ourselves strong. We'll reap what we have sown this year. So we ask, may it last all year long. That we may start fresh, that we may come clear, that we may know sweetness and peace throughout the year, that we may find love where we need it most, and open our hearts and hands and draw one another close. I'd like to call up Jim and Nancy Linden to offer a reading on page 11 of our prayer books.
Can I read and then he can read?
We'll get him up later.
Liam, call him. I'm reading this. Okay. The first mitzvah in the Torah is let there be light. So we are commanded, in everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, and do your work with passion. And the reliance and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished. And may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward and striving for the good, reaching for you.
As we continue now with our candle lighting, I'd like to call up Scott and Melissa Newman, as well as Evan and Mila.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. We continue on page 79 with the blessing over the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'am, Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava, et yom hazikaron hazeh, Yom Teruah Mikra Kodesh, Zeh Letziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim, Udvar ha'amat, וכיום לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ויום הזיכרון.
It's now my pleasure to call up our President, Mark Dressner, to offer some words to us this evening.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
So last year I left everybody with a challenge, and that challenge was if you were filling out a form and you got to the bottom of the form and there was one of those surveys of what ethnicity you were, I challenged you all to be mindful about what box you check. And I'm wondering how many people actually thought about that more this year because of what I said last year. Did anybody do it? Okay, a few. Okay, that's really good. I still forever will check other because I am Jewish and I live my life as an other. That was last year. All right, this year, one of the privileges of being a president is you get to meet with so many people. And I've probably had at least 50 meetings with individuals over food and beverage. And most of those meetings are just to get to know people better and to hear what their goals are for the year or have questions. But a fair amount of those meetings are to ask people to do something for the temple. And so if you get a call from a text or an email from me and we're going out to lunch, you might think, uh-oh, this is probably a big ask. And if you get a text about going out to coffee, well, he's probably going to ask me something, but it's probably not that big. And then there's the text about you want to go out for pie, and it's like, what does he mean, pie? How do I interpret that? And then there's somebody, I don't know if you're here tonight, there's someone who will wind up having acai bowls, so that's a whole other meaning. But anyway, when I've met with some of the people, particularly those who I'm asking to do something extra for the temple, one of the answers I got for why they maybe would not want to do something is because they felt that they were not Jewish enough. And I wasn't prepared for that. I was prepared for people to say, well, between my kids and my job, I don't have time, or I'm retired and I'm just never even here, or I'm on 2 other boards and I don't have, but not being Jewish enough was like, what did that mean? And 3 people actually did some rendition of that. One person actually almost used those words, but 2 other people said something similar. And so I was really pondering over the next few weeks, what does it mean not to be Jewish enough? And so does it mean that you don't go to service, or you only go to 1 service a year? Or does it mean that you never go to Torah study, or you went once and it wasn't your cup of tea? Does it mean that you don't know how to read Hebrew? Is that it? Or that you don't know the Shema? What is it that would not make you Jewish enough? You've never been to Israel? If you've never been to Israel, you're not Jewish enough, so you can't do something more for the temple? Did you not have a B'nai Mitzvah? Is that what it is to not be Jewish enough? Or if you were a confirmation, did you not have a confirmation? Do you actually celebrate Yom Kippur, but you actually don't fast? Does that make you not Jewish enough? Uh-oh, is there a lot of people now going, uh-oh, not Jewish enough? Have you never built a sukkah, or have you never been invited to a sukkah, or you're not sure what a sukkah is? Does that make you not Jewish enough? Do you not know about URJ, the Union for Reform Judaism, and some of their positions on social action and how to move social action into action? Or do you just go through your daily life not really identifying as Jewish? What is it that makes you not Jewish enough? And how do you become Jewish enough? Remember, this is the High Holy Day appeal. How do you become Jewish enough? And the key place to become Jewish enough is a synagogue and Temple Israel. This is where every time you come in here, or even if you consciously decide not to come in here, or not listen online, you're becoming Jewish enough. This is the place to pray, to study, to learn, to socialize, to engage in social action based on Jewish values, all of those things, you have that opportunity here to become Jewish enough. But to be here, we need financial support. We would not be here if it wasn't the generosity of our congregants. So I encourage you, as you are able, to donate for the High Holy Day campaign, or other ways is when you get your membership, to up your membership, to help so everybody could be part of the community. We refuse nobody at Temple Israel. So for those who cannot pay, we're here to support them. Other events during the year, like the gala, sponsor a table, be a sponsor. Make sure to send Purim greetings to everybody. Of course, contribute to the 100-year campaign however you can, whether that's in real time or in legacy. So there's so many ways that we need to support Temple Israel so we all can have a life where we all are daily becoming Jewish enough. Everybody here today is becoming Jewish enough. All of you, everyone here. Even if you're not Jewish, you're all here to become Jewish enough. So as I end this talk, I want you to remember and embrace these emblazoned words, that my house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples. For all peoples. Shana Tova.
Please turn to page 15, Tiku Vachodesh.
We continue on page 16. Please rise in body or in spirit. Very, very heavy arc. Here I am, one soul within this prayer community, and like those around me, I bring my own concerns and yearnings to this place, hoping they will find expression in the time-hallowed words of my people and in the traditions cherished by generations before me. May I bring the best of my energies to these holy days, approaching this spiritual work with open heart and mind, sincerity, and sustained focus on the deep questions of this season. Who am I? How shall I live? Where have I fallen short or failed? This night, I take up the challenge of the days of awe. Cheshbon hanefesh, a searching examination of my life, a moral inventory of my deeds, words, and thoughts. During the next 10 days, let me face the truth about myself and listen to your still small voice. Taking comfort in your promise that I am always free to change, released from staleness and routine, let me know the joy of beginning again. May I gain strength as I share this task with those around me, united by our common purpose, tikkun midot, improving our characters, and tikkun olam, repairing this world. I now prepare myself to pray, one soul amidst this holy congregation.
Tehilot Yisrael, Atila Amor Ulchanin Leva. ולבקשה, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, אלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, אלוהי ישראל, שדי איום ונורא, הנה מצליח דרכי, אשר אני הולכת לעמוד ולבקש רחמים, ולבקש רחמים עלי ועל שולחי.
Please be seated. Now I'd like to call up Lydia Pinto to offer the words on page 22 of our prayer books.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע קיצונו, בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי קיים, תמיד ימרוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
And continue on page 24. I'd like to call up Jackie Fritz to offer these words.
Love beyond all space and time, your love enfolds your people Israel. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and when we rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and your mitzvot. They are all the very essence of our life, ours to ponder, study all our days, and may we never lose or be unworthy of your love.
I'd like to call up Harriet Benish for Ahavat Olam.
I'd like to invite us to please rise in body or in spirit. Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and invited us regarding the reading of the Shema to declare God's place in our world with a whole heart, to declare God one with a good and willing heart, and to worship peace and praise God with a willing spirit. We continue on page 26.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto
Please be seated.
Ve'ata et Adonai Elohecha bechol levacha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibartam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha b'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam le'oto yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam, al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, amen.
We continue on page 33. I'd like to call up Diane Saltzman to offer this reading.
You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross the sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song.
Malechutecha ביד חזק בימינו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל.
We continue on page 37. I'd like to call up Gail Friedman to offer these words.
Rosh HaShanah in the pines. Darkness settles slowly across the horizon. The new year rises before us, its fragile moon awaiting our embrace. Heaven and earth entwine in their annual dance of recreation. A fissure appears in the firmament tonight, an entranceway into new beginnings. Out beyond the swales, the sea expands and contracts, keeping time to the thrumming of the universe. Under this Rosh Hashanah sky, the path before us is uncertain. All we can do is hold each other tight as we make our way home.
Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, leshalom, leshalom. Hashkivenu, Hashkivenu, Adonai.
We continue on page 42. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Satai tivta, ufi agitehi. declare your glory. Open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'ronei Hakol, Ve'zoher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii geula libnei bneihem, Lema'an Shemo ve'ahava. Zoreinu lechaim, Melech hafetz b'chaim, V'chotvenu b'sefer hachayim, Mancha Elohim chayim. Chotvenu b'sefer hachayim, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah gimor leolam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, morid atah. Mechalel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, U'matir asurim, U'mekayem emunato l'shenei afar, Lichamocha b'geburot, U'midor melach, Melech mevit u'mechayem, U'matzliach Yeshua. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים אלוהיו יהללו הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue on page 49. I'd like to invite Steve Gordon up to offer these words.
And so, in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witnesses of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength. the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name.
ותקווה לדורשך ופתחון פה ומייחלים לך ובכן תן כבוד
We continue on page 52. You are holy, your name is There is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Please be seated. We continue on page 55.
זוכרנו אדוני אלוהינו פה לטובה.
Amen.
ופוקדנו בו לברכה.
Amen.
והושיענו בו לחיים. Amen.
Eternal our God, remember us together. Amen. Be mindful of us. Amen. And redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. Amen.
ובדבר ישוע ורחמים חוס וחוננו ורחם עלינו והושיענו כי אליך עינינו כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה.
Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care, God. We await your redemption. For you reign with grace and compassion. Continue on page 58. I'd like to call up Leah Lieberman to offer these words. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Kodshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tein chalkenu b'toratecha.
God, who is ours, and God of our fathers and mothers, lead us to the holiness through your mitzvot, and may each of us find a portion of the Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness, teach us to be satisfied and to know the joy of your salvation. Help us to serve you truly with purity of heart, for you are a faithful God whose truth stands forever. Our praise to you, Eternal One, whose power pervades all the earth. You bring holiness to the people Israel and to this day of remembrance.
Amen. We know that no matter how many words we might offer, no matter how many times we might draw from the well of wisdom that comes to us from generations past, that there are prayers deep in our hearts that never find their way to a prayer book, never find their expression in words, and so we take a moment now to offer a silent prayer, a moment for those prayers deep in our hearts that will never find the right words. Well, our thoughts now turn to those in our community who are in need of healing. And that is a healing of the body or a healing of the mind, healing of the spirit or the soul. And so if you are here with us this evening and are thinking of someone in particular this night, I want to invite you to share the name of that person out loud, knowing that there can be strength both in offering that person's name for all of us to think of, and for you to share a name out loud so that we might turn to you and offer strength, knowing well that healing takes many forms, one of which is the support and love of those in our community. And so as my eyes meet yours, I invite you to share the name of those you are thinking of.
Alberta Fritz, Priscilla Heim, and Kim Hughes, Joe Schleich.
We hold all these people in our hearts as we offer the words on page 73 of our prayer books.
Rifa'enu Adonai v'nei rafeh, Hoshi'enu v'ni v'ashea, El karov lechol korav,
We continue on page 76 of our prayer books. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Avinu Malkeinu, Ein Manu Melech Ele Ata. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, you alone are sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, Lama Anecha Rachem Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake show us mercy. Avinu Malkeinu, Asa Imanu Lama'an Shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shlach Refuah Shlema Lecholei Amcha.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kera Ra'eh Lazer Demenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Tovenu B'Sefer Geula Yeshua.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
Avinu Malkeinu, Zorchinu V'Skiron Tov Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
Avinu Malkeinu, Asa L'Ma'anecha V'Hoshe'enu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu V'Alalenu V'Tafnenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kaleh Devar V'Cheref Ra'av Me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, all the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu, Kaleh Kol Tsar Umashtin Ma'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, all the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu, V'Dvenu B'Sefer Chayim Tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives beloved.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us the year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu, Hanenu Ve'anenu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim, Oseh Imanu Tzedakah V'Chesed V'Hoshim.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu. Ve'ol Aleinu, V'Tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kol Tvenu, B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu,
Please be seated. Well, there's a significant jump from the previous album to the famous long-faced record. I've often wondered about what happened in the time in between that created the leap from bubblegum pop, block chords backing a static melody that, albeit brilliant, ran a little like a player piano or an alarm on an old Casio watch. One note at a time, a little harmony for a real flourish. But there was something different in this one. From the first note of Drive My Car, you feel something. It's no longer a single mic dropped in the middle of a room with 4 screaming young adults, shocking people again with their wild mop tops and a stationary modification of the rebellion of Elvis's video-recorded hips. They were beyond cool. No longer trying to get people to think they were edgy because they wore wild clothes. They actually were on the edge. Reinventing music at the very top. Sending it down from the mountain to free up the dusty ears of the Western world and rattle some cages down on Tin Pan Alley and up at Capitol Records. Rubber Soul. The 1965 album by the Beatles was different. You could hear it. When the boys sat with the cover artist and his projector screen fell back, stretching their faces on the photo, removing baby fat and adding years onto the Fab Four, they finally looked like adults and they said, keep it. But what changed in that album? Certainly they had brilliant songs before. Yesterday, Ticket to Ride, even No Reply shakes me. Every time I hear it, it's genius. But something is dramatically different here. Some people might say they got new equipment. New guitars and amps from Leo Fender, crafted in his shop just a short down the 22 from right here. But there's so much more. Norwegian wood, Nowhere Man, Michelle in My Life. I go through periods of time where I can't listen to anything but this album. I put something else on and it just doesn't have that feel. The notes are in the wrong place. The harmony's too simple. The change is too contrived. Where in the world did that music come from? And why is the rabbi talking about the Beatles on Rosh HaShanah? Despite sticking to holy subjects on this holiday. Well, a few things happened for the lads from Liverpool in 1965. They met Elvis, and despite the Fab Four worshiping their king, they discovered that they intimidated him. Later on, they learned that he tried to have their music banned in the U.S. to protect his seat as number 1. There were drugs, but that was not new for them. I didn't have a stop for that, but yeah. What changed was that this was the first time, the first album where they finally had real studio time. Up until then, time in the studio was limited. They, or just about anyone else, would rehearse their parts and then hop into the studio for a short block of time. Tape and personnel were so expensive, they had to rush in and set up their amps and kit and count off just in time for the engineer to stamp the record button and catch what was essentially a live performance in a smaller space. By the time the Beatles got to Rubber Soul, they were so big and influential, they could walk into the studio like they owned the place. They had all the time they wanted. They went into the back and talked to the engineers and had them crank the dials. When someone said, "You can't do that," they said, "Try it." Sometimes it didn't work. Alan Civil was not going to do any better playing French horn on Revolver later on. But when they reprocessed the guitar on Nowhere Man, by sending it through one more high-pass filter, they finally got the sound that shook the airwave for decades to come. And what was an experiment is now the standard. Expected, you could even say time-honored traditional. The studio was no longer a place to stop in once in a while and hash out the things that you needed and then take away the product and go on with your merry life. The studio became a place where you gathered, shared some time and ideas, and let innovation and recording be a byproduct of the time you spent exploring new avenues to music. So why am I talking about the Beatles on this holiday? Because we are in 1965. Now, I don't mean literally, or I would be wearing a very different suit, but we as a community are at a crossroads. For the past 10 to 20 years, the Jewish community in the United States has been in an unprecedented time. And it's now coming to the fore, and it's due to demographics. For about a century now, Jews in the U.S. have commonly sent their kids away to college or elsewhere after graduating from high school, and often in the course of their time away, they would meet someone, get married in their early 20s, and shortly thereafter have kids of their own. As soon as those kids were old enough to enter religious school, they would enroll them in a supplementary program at a synagogue that commonly became their social and spiritual home. But things have shifted. Today, young people are often waiting much longer to get married. And if they choose to have children, they wait even longer. Many begin to have children in their late 30s or early 40s, and there's potentially a quarter of a person's lifespan where they are not linked to a synagogue for the simple fact that they have no children of their own. This is new for the Jewish community. And all of the ages are mixed up because parents of adults don't have grandchildren of their own. They're also missing the connection. And ages across the spectrum are mixed up from what they looked like in the past. 65 used to be the age of retirement, and people would begin to slow down and become a homebody, and I expect to start whittling. Today, 65 is the new 40 or 30. I can't keep up with many of our members in this age group, and I am not in bad shape. And everyone is changing. 10-year-olds are acting like teenagers. They're even experiencing physical changes earlier than ever recorded, and it's baffling researchers. 28 is the new 18. 85 is the new 60. Things are changing. One of my favorite stories in the Talmud includes a little bit of magic. It takes place in that favorite location of the rabbis, the top of Mount Sinai. Moses ascends to meet God at the height of the rock, and the rabbis imagine a vaguely corporeal God like a sofer painting words of Torah with a fine white quill. As Moses reaches this peak, God is still working on the text, placing crowns on each of the letters. A shin adorned with 3 spires set on its right arm, a vav that reaches above the line in a heavenly gesture. What's puzzling to Moses is that there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or a reason to the placement of these decorations. While painted with delight, they seem not to discriminate. An olive here has one, an olive there does not. In my mind, the rabbis gave us a gift. Rather than dismissing these seemingly random letter crests, assigning them to aesthetic or the ecstatic expression of an early scribe, the rabbis invite us to go deeper. Nothing, they seem to say, has to remain meaningless. And so in their mind, Moses asks, what are these crowns? And God replies that someday there will be a great teacher, Akiva, who will draw out mountains of laws from each of these small lines. Here's where the magic comes in. Moses says, show me. And he turns around to find himself in the back of Rabbi Akiva's classroom. The great sage is teaching and speaking and explaining, and Moses doesn't understand a word of it. And this is my favorite part. One of Akiva's students, they ask him, from where do we learn the particular lesson you're sharing with us? And Akiva doesn't hesitate. He says, from Moses, our teacher. Every generation of Jews has reinvented Judaism. Every single one has reimagined the teachings of our tradition and re-expressed them in their own voice. Despite the fixation of some anachronistic extremist sects of Judaism, today is not the same as it was 500 years ago. Rabbi Rashi would not understand Rabbi Heschel, just as Moses didn't understand Akiva. And while generations adjacent to one another have more in common than those divided by centuries, even they have different needs and different ways of meeting them. It is both inevitable and necessary that Judaism finds new voices, new forms. What's happening today is those generations are all finding themselves in the same house. And like the magic of the Midrash, Moses is sitting in the room with Akiva, and while neither has anything but love for the other, they don't speak the same language. I was recently watching a video interview with Rabbi Kelter from 2004. Video is so different than text. It's less intimate, but much, much more informational. A picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say. And our dear Rabbi Emeritus was answering questions behind his thick glasses and accent. And he would sometimes pause for a moment before responding, clear that he was drawing from deep wells of wisdom, experience that taught him real reasons and repercussions for the implications of each question and answer. There is a new generation coming, he said. They need to find a new expression of Judaism. Countless times, I will speak with a member of our community who is here all of the time. For any number of reasons, this place is not only their spiritual home, it's their third space. Their spot away from work and home, and they're here all the time, stuffing envelopes or setting up for a program, learning or leading a committee or task force, and they will not know another person at Temple Israel who is also here every week, regularly involved in another project. We are a community, diverse even as we are one. I believe that we have the capacity and need to create the space for many different approaches to Judaism. There is space in this tent for different voices, different ways of leading a spiritual life. There is no need to let go of meaningful melodies and rituals that make up your practice. But know also that there is no such thing as the historical, traditional, or correct melody for a prayer. Whether you roll back the clock 5 or 50 or 150 or 1,000 years, the melodies will all be different. The holidays and rituals only distant reflections of one another. Because of this, know that what is right and familiar for you may not be for your neighbor. And even if your spiritual community might do something that is not for you personally, doesn't look like the Judaism that you are used to practicing, or is too staid, too much of a Judaism not relevant to your needs today, it does not mean that it is not your sacred home. There is more to this place than any one of us can ever see. Memories in the walls and history outside our records, potential beyond our wildest dreams. That is part of what makes it holy. Back to our favorite four. One of the things that might be surprising to see in the Beatles is that even as they were defining still new genre of rock and roll, they were sponges for any kind of music they could get their hands on. There was the usual interchange between popular bands at the time. Paul remembers sitting with Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones in his apartment and hearing one of their records before it was released, digging the new sounds as the needle grooved into the vinyl. But Blackbird is the sweet, simple acoustic guitar piece was a riff off of an etude by Bach. George spent hours listening to Indian music just to expand his sense of harmony beyond the 12 notes of our Western scale. Paul's still learning. He just played at the tribute in London to the drummer for the grunge band, the Foo Fighters. What resulted in their tenure in the 1960s was an anticipation of every type of popular music to come after them. They pushed the genre of rock and roll so profoundly that there was space for it to remain the popular music in the US and England for the next 50 years, just from everyone picking up any small piece of what they introduced and growing it into an entire field of possibilities. As a rabbi, I feel that it is not always my role to have the answers, but rather to ask the right questions. And so I am turning to you to ask, what is your voice in Judaism? Is it meditation? Do you read Jewish novels or sing bim bam to your kids? Is it the familiar words of the Friday night service or a bagel recipe? The story of your family leaving Europe, Iran, Mexico? Or is your Judaism the reason you march on Harvey Milk Park? This holiday, I invite you to ask the question, what does your Judaism look like? And we promise to do our part. Cantor Cooper and I are weaving what is familiar with what is new. And among other things, we've carved out the first Saturday morning of the month for a hike and meditation at El Dorado Nature Center. Come and join us. Let's see how the space and medium speak to us. One of my favorite stories that the Beatles tell about themselves was right around the time they were recording Rubber Soul. It's fair to say that the Fab Four were at the height of their popularity and career from that point through the next 5 years or so. Along with their success and fame came a significant amount of wealth. And between recording, press conferences, touring, TV shows, movies, writing, and practicing, they found some time to have fun. John had a big Rolls Royce, which he painted bright yellow. And in it, he installed tinted windows and, of all things, a megaphone. He couldn't really drive it, and anyone who's seen a picture of the myopic icon knows that he had glasses with lenses about as thick as they were round. Nevertheless, he used to cart the others around in it, bounding down the street with what we can only hope were bumpers on either side of the country roads. Except this night, only Ringo and Paul were in the car. Instead, they were chasing George down the street in his new car. 4 boys on top of the world, and they were playing, following George in the psychedelic behemoth, announcing over the loudspeaker, "It is foolish to resist. It is foolish to resist," as they bounded down the road and into the night. If nothing else, the story of the Beatles is a story of friendship. The band dissolved when the 4 grew into adulthood, became spouses and parents and away from each other. We are one community. And we can't innovate and preserve and live vibrantly in the same way by ourselves. We need to feed off of each other. Different generations, one inspiring and lifting up the other. One of the unique beauties of the synagogue is the way that generations can be in a shared space, with accidents and ideas that make way to movements. And so I know that we can work it out. Because, of course, we get by with a little help from our friends. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Well, we continue with the words of Aleinu on page 82. I'd like to invite us to please rise in body or in spirit.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula le'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kachem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ליום ההוא יהיה אדוני ביום ההוא יחיה אדוני ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. Our thoughts now turn to those in our community who have died in recent days or in this season in years past. And so as our hearts go out to those who have lost someone near to them, we think of those whom are in a period of Shiva and Shloshim, observing the 7 and 30 days after the death of someone near to them. And so as we remember Shirley Locke, our hearts go out to Margaret Locke and Bill Geiser, Kevin and Emma, Sheila and Amitai, Evan and Connor. And as we remember Nancy Lee, our hearts go out to Ray Edelman. And as we remember Kenneth Rosenfeld, our hearts go out to Dan Rosenfeld and Karen Rosenfeld, Molly and Samantha. And as we remember Harry Zubel, our hearts go out to Carrie Zubel and Jonathan Weiner, Max and Sadie. And as we remember Shirley Sapel, our hearts go out to Joel Sapel, Mona Gable, Jesse and Kate. And as we remember Diane Stotlin Repkin, our hearts go out to Heather Raphael. And as we remember Micah Beisel, our hearts go out to Rabbi Lee and Judy Beisel. Our hearts also go out to those near to Doug Fagan as we think of Betsy and Adam. Doug, who passed away just this past Thursday. We additionally mark the yard site, those whose death falls at or near the holiday of Rosh Hashanah. So together we think of Frank Decker, Sarah Iser, B. Fletcher, Sylvia Goldberg, Robert Gundry, Woody Jaffe, Sylvia Pessin, Sarah Rosenzweig, Russell Summer, Ronnie Stoller, and William Weir. If you are here and are thinking of anyone in particular this evening, I'd like to invite you to share their name aloud as my eyes meet yours. I'd now like to invite all of us to turn to page 90 in our prayer books and to rise together in love and in solidarity as we offer these words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach chirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechon u'byomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'gala u'bizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Omel Maya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha Barichu Le'ela Ule'ela Minkol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran B'yalma V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim Alinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Say shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, may the memories of those near to us always be a source of blessing. I invite us together to say, Amen. We continue with the words on page 94, Adon Olam. I want to offer a special thank you to everyone whose work behind the scenes helped make this evening possible. Thank you to our volunteer readers. Thank you to Mike and Kiki and Kenny and the whole team. Thank you to Eric. And thank you as well to our choir who brought this evening in with such power and was so beautiful. Thank you to David for always bringing in our evening with such power. As we continue this, as we offer one more piece, I want to invite everyone to remain in our seats as Cantor Cooper and I make our way to the entrance of our sanctuary. We want to greet and say Shana Tova to everyone. And so I invite us to enjoy this last piece as we make our way to our sanctuary entrance, wishing everyone a good and sweet Shana Tova. We'll see you back here at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, both online and here in our sanctuary. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.